Yo, 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 yo! What is going on, people? How's everybody doing? Hey, Kanal here. We got Levi here. Guys, give us just a second. Make sure everybody gets in okay. But, of course, welcome to, a little thirsty day of the markets, man. The IWM is flying. The thing that everybody's been asking about for the market to do is actually happening. So everybody should be in very, very good spirits because, well, frankly, the market's doing what it's supposed to do. And so now we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about, where before we might have been just talking about a couple different things. So, guys, let's get to work here. I want to introduce you to Levi. Levi is, man, he's been with me for quite some time, but he runs our options room. And then we recently, went into the futures game, and he's been running that room too. And so he's got an awesome, just background. So for those of you guys that don't know him, he joined Bulls on Wall Street as a student long time ago, over 10 years ago. So he's one of the original guys. And then he ended up starting his own trading service. And so he was running a business similar to mine for a long period of time. And we recently connected about a year and some change ago and decided to work together. And so he's been doing our options room, which is something that, I frankly knew nothing about. And I was actually against it. I used to toss options traders under the bus, nonstop, because I'd never seen anybody make money doing options. Never. I got one friend, Sang Lucci, is a good friend of mine. But even his swings boom and bust all the time, right? And he's one of my best friends. He's a brother of mine. So I was never interested in it because I know he's made tens of millions of dollars, but even then his lifespan looked real short. Man, he's always fucking stressed out. So I never seen anybody do it consistently. So I always just bashed options nonstop. I was a hater. I was hating on options even more than Forex. And then, I ran back into Levi and he was telling me some of the stuff he was doing, and I followed him on Twitter, but I didn't really put two and two together. And then we connected, and he was showing me some of his stuff, and I was like, ooh, this might be something. And I regressed because I was completely wrong. I would say that now probably a third of my trades end up being options trades. The stuff that he taught me, not only is it highly addicting, but it's very, very tactical. So my specific strategy of trading, because it involves a whole shitload of patterns and market intuition and news, and there's just all these moving parts to it. And so it always has been the learning curve has always been, I think, fairly big. And, when Levi was showing me his stuff, the learning curve was so much smaller because, he was using something that I was not even familiar with, and I'll let him get into it. And he's still using a lot of the patterns and market reading and stuff like that. But there was a little bit more precision to it. And I thought that was epic. And so I've been trading a lot of options. Some of my biggest trades of the last year have all been on options trades, and so I think that's been pretty sick. And so the strategy that he's been teaching has been working full blown. And then beyond that, recently we opened a futures room, and he's been teaching and trading all that. So Levi, lo and behold, he's actually a young man, but he was one of my first students. And dude, he's a badass motherfucker, as you can see by the enormous amount of Bud Light tattoos he has on him. Brother, what's going on? Welcome to the party.
Yeah, good to be here. Hey, everybody.
So, Levi, give us a quick rundown. How'd you get started in this? A lot of people don't really realize, the I also like a lot of people don't realize the intellect that comes into like some of the stuff that you've invented, you put in, you are engineer by trade, farmer, rancher, trader, algo coder, a lot of this stuff that goes into this, a lot of people, and I tell people all the time, like they just take classes and they think, hey, I learn a couple patterns and right, I'm a trader. And you've got all this stuff going on. Like, give me a rundown of your background, like how you got into this and, what you've been doing.
Yeah. So kind of like what you touched on, it all kind of started in 2010, 2011, trading penny stocks. Tim Sykes had a lot of success until people started learning that they could short his alerts. He'd have a couple thousand people in the chat room, run a stock 20 cents. You got 10, 15,000 shares. You'd make a lot of money. That quit working, and I never was really learning anything. Kind of went on my own, and then I came across you on YouTube, driving that badass car you had back then, and
it hooked me.
Yeah. And then I did boot camp class, and that's really what kind of got the ball rolling on everything. Really, just they're realizing there was a process to trading, and it wasn't just following alerts. There was actually strategies, and I had no idea what a VWAP was or a 9 EMA or none of that. So, that was really the start of the foundation. And then obviously I've been other places, other mentors, just staying hungry to learn everything I could. And, I had Stock Hunter Trading. I ran that business for just over 5 years. And, for me, it became very overwhelming. I'm the kind of guy, like I said, I'm a farmer, I'm a family man, I'm like the blue collar guy. And running a business and trading, for me, it wasn't working out. As you know, as the CEO of Bulls on Wall Street, you're not. You've got team members, but you're still making a lot of calls. You're doing the customer service, the back end work. So that kind of took me away from what I love, and that's trading. That's why I approached you.
What were you doing before you were trading? What were you doing?
Oil field. I started in the oil field in 2007.
You're an oil man.
And I did very well for myself. I've worked for some very big companies, Whiting, oil and gas, extraction, did some work with Chevron, completions consulting, production foreman. So let's just say I never had an issue with refunding an account after I blow it, in my first 5 years of trading.
Sure.
I was super young, no kids at the time, no real responsibilities, and I just wanted to trade. And, the career I had at that time allowed me to fund accounts and stay with it, So I was definitely thankful and grateful for that I could stay in the game with that.
Nice. So you're an engineer, oil man by trade. How'd you become a farmer/rancher? I call you a rancher because you're in Colorado in the mountains. I feel like you can't do much farming up in the mountains. So I'm calling you a rancher. You call yourself farmer. We meet in the middle.
Right. So I've always grown up, raised in the country. My dad, actually, the house I grew up in is probably 5 miles from my farm that I've got now.
Nice.
I spent 7, 8 years living in the city. That's how I met my city slicker wife, opposites attract. I'm country boy, she's city girl. And met her out there and, decided, hey, let's go back to the mountains. Let's get a farm. So we literally have a farm. We've got horses, cows.
You look at home in that lifestyle.
Yeah. So
that's pretty cool. So, guys, we're going to get into some little details on some of the stuff that Levi does. But, Levi, give me an idea, like, you took our class, and we're more momentum traders, right? So we're always kind of trading, like, ORBs, pullbacks. But they're, like, in essence, like, a lot of my style and why I like a lot of your stuff, a lot of my style actually involves quite a bit of chasing. And you've evolved from all of that. And so, like, what I really love about what you've been doing is that every pattern you do involves zero chasing. And, so when I've been incorporating your stuff into options, like my success rates on options has gone up considerably because you're not chasing anything anymore. So give me a rundown of like how you trade, like what's the strategy in a nutshell?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. I mean, I've learned the hard way, especially with options trading. That's been my forte for, gosh, what, 10 years or so.
Sure.
If you're chasing a breakout trading options and that breakout fails and the underlying goes against you, your premium on your contracts will evaporate, right? So that's kind of what got me into like, hey, these trades end up working, but if that breakout fails and the stock pulls back $1 or $2 in a strong trend, like I get shaken out. I have to exit. So how can I, get in on these singular trend days with these dips? And that's really where the Fibs strategy developed, finding strong stocks or trading the indexes when they're, in a singular trend. Everything in the market to me is mathematical.
Sure.
When you have a 800-point day on the NASDAQ or a 2% rally on the Russell like today, hedge funds, institutions, they know when there's a 50% correction and we are without a doubt in a strong bullish trend. I want to be the guy who's buying value on these dips. And that's really what the entire strategy is focused on with trading Fibs is not chasing breakouts, not chasing 3-bar extensions. It's identifying that, but sticking with it and waiting for a Fib pullback. And to me, that's optimal entry opportunity with defined risk.
So give me a rundown though, because so I've been around the block for many, 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 many years. And, I've traded, I've read every book and talked to every mentor possible. And I've heard of Fibonacci's, but I was never able to actually incorporate them because you're always like redrawing stuff and there's so many fucking numbers. Sorry for swearing. And the way you've done it is very simple. Like I just see zones. So I don't even know which one of but they always work. And so I never know. I don't even know which one of these Fibs I've been crushing. So I don't know if you see any of my YouTube videos. Dude, I've been nailing some of these things. But I never know even which ones are which. Like I just, I got your code that you sent me, and it's like they work always to the dot on so many things. And obviously this is after hours, so these things redraw. But like you've made essentially, program on Thinkorswim where they're redrawing constantly, and so you always have support and resistance. But like where this has actually saved me a lot of money, I'll tell you, is it's not actually always even in the trades. So like, I trade breakouts and stuff, right? So a lot of times I do ORBs on stocks. Like I thought today, like for example, I thought today like Nvidia looked really bullish in the morning. Like it kind of like spiked up and it was like hanging out here. And so like on my TC2000, it looked like it was going to do an ORB. But like, then I go to my other monitor where I have like all your stuff and it was like, oh, it just ran into the resistance zone. It's going to dump off. And so like, I don't take the trade. It ends up, saving me a lot of money too. So what went into all of this? Like, what are we looking at here? We got zones, red, yellows, greens.
Yeah. So when the Fib zone, well, first off, the Fib zone is made up, and this is nothing secret, man. Fibonacci, the indicator was out in like the 70s with people were using that in the 70s and the 80s trading stocks. I mean, it's no secret. Everybody knows Fibonacci. The thing is most people do it wrong. They approach it wrong. And again, for me, a big part of it is trying to keep me trading on the right side of the trend. So you'll see some of those zones are red. that tells me right off the bat, I've always been a visual type of person. Like I have to visually see something. So when I see that red, it's okay, Levi, look for pops to short. Now, obviously, I would love for price to get back to that zone to short, but
Sure.
being that we're below the 50% fib on that current time frame, to me, price action is weak. I'm not cherry picking bottoms. I'm looking to short pops. So if you look at a couple of those on your chart right there, that worked really well. Now,
Yeah, Mara, Shop.
on the flip side, if that zone is green, okay, mindset is what dips can be bought. If you trade with moving averages, you can incorporate that into the fib strategy. If you're above that 50% fib on the current time frame, look for those 50 EMA dips on the 5 minute. Look for the 20 EMA riders. It is literally that simple.
Nice.
Now you see that other zone that's just below your main zone, and that is a unique Fibonacci sequence that I developed. I didn't get it from nobody, and I call that the last stand zone. And so for me, if I'm going to trade at the fib zone where I get entry and I plan to scale the trade, that last stand zone is where I will either add to my position or use that as my stop loss. If that breaks, the trade's done, the trend's done, I move on. And I can't tell you how many times, and I think there's a lot of people in here that can contest that when that zone hits, you're going to get a reaction, man.
Nice. I mean, this is that, I'm an old school tape reader pattern guy. So like this stuff it's actually been a lot of fun with me. So give me a rundown though. So you've been trading these options, what's your bread and butter on the options? Like what type of options strategies? Obviously we know we have these fib zones that you've kind of put together. What type of options do you trade? Like, are you just wheeling and dealing, like a stock looks good, you just buy the option? Or do you have like a certain subset of things that are kind of non-negotiable that you're doing?
So I only trade the high beta stuff, your blue chip names, the NVIDIA, Tesla, Apple. I mean, I've got less than 10 names on my watch list, Canal. I'm not saying that you can't trade outside of that stuff, but for me, my success coming with my fibs too, again, it's mathematical. Everybody in the world's watching Apple. Everybody in the world's watching Tesla, Google, AMD, NVIDIA. Those are the blue chip high beta stocks. Those are all I trade along with SPY and QQQ and IWM. One, they're very liquid. The options chain I can buy on the ask, sell on the on the ask. I can market order. I don't have to use limit orders. The spreads are tight. And again, with my strategy in the fibs, I'm looking to get optimal entries on these high beta stocks that can't be influenced by a large chat room pump. Per se, you get a bunch of guys talking about a small cap stock that's optionable. They pump it. To me, I quit messing with that stuff years ago. I stick with the high beta names, period.
Nice. So I actually, and even on every blue moon, I'll just dig in. Let me see if I can find an individual chart here. I can never figure out how to use this fucking thing. Hold on.
And one thing too, we trade at the money strikes. At most, I go 1 point at the money. I will always pay a higher premium to stay closer to the underlying stock price, just because if you get 15, 20 minutes of sideways consolidation, if you're an options trader, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You lose premium. So the farther at the money you are, and that stock does opposite of what you want it to do, or even consolidates for an hour, you lose premium. And we had a great example of that today with QQQ. When we get to the futures trading, we'll talk about that. But I took a 35-point short on NQ. At the same time, I was short the QQQ at the money putts, and I was up 10% after the underlying dropped 1.5 points or so. So that right there is just the difference in why I'm picky on strike price, trading at the money or in the money strikes. Very rare do I trade out of the money.
Nice. And so this can work both ways. Like you can go to the upside and downside. And what I've noticed is it's usually the first push into them works the best. You know, there will be secondary pushes like I fucked this up a little bit, but they redraw a little bit right now. But the like right in coin, coin opened up at 244 and this green zone started actually at 237. It's redrawn. And it came right down like literally to the penny into the zone, and then you get this huge pop. So for those of you guys that get like a little bit more, when you get a little bit more confused with all the rules of trading, like some of the things that Levi put together, they help a lot because they take some of the thinking out of it. Like you still have to think, you still have to be on a high level because we're talking about making money. But what it does is it takes like all the million patterns, right? People are like, oh, it's a wedge, it's a this, it's a that, it's a topping tail, it's a fugazi, it's a double Lutzi, whatever it might be. And you narrow it down into like zones of love, right? Where you start coming in and you see it, you're like, okay, this is interesting. And then if you start seeing it like in a certain way, you're like a lot more interesting. And I think that becomes very, very important. Like when you're trading, there are certain people that can memorize 50 patterns and so many strategies because they have the experience, the capital, the intellect, all these things, right? Like if you got some 45-year-old guy who's been trading since he's 18, like people like me, then like you can have a million strategies going, right? But that's not really logical for most people, right? Like you have to build up to that. For example, like I'm 43 years old. I've literally been like my first trade was when I was 17. When I was 20, I made literally probably 1,000. There was no PDT back then. Dude, it was insane. You could have $500 that kind of day trade, right? So there's no PDT. I made thousands of trades when I was 20. So like, that experience level is a little bit different. And what I love about like this kind of stuff is like you can have more simplicity to it.
So, hey, real quick, I've got my trading view up because what you've kind of been mentioning is like the fibs change, right? And so somebody might be asking, well, what do you mean those levels change? So every time price makes a new high or a new low, those fib levels adjust with price. So what you're seeing now might not be what actually happened during the day, because if you make a new high or a new low, it's going to be different. So Kunal was really talking about this coin trade earlier. And what's cool with the indicator on TradingView is when I move my chart around, it'll change my high and low of my fibs. So Kunal's talking about this dip right here into that fib zone. Really nice impulse move right into the 50. It held the 61.8. Look at that hammer candle, and then followed by a reversal bullish engulfing candle here. And then here's the move that came after, right? This was the move. So coin went from 235 today. You can just see it adjusted to 252. I mean, so that was just a textbook trade off the fib indicator there.
Oh, look at that TradingView. For some reason, I can't get behind TradingView.
I know, me too. But
it works good.
I trade on the go quite a bit, and my fib indicator doesn't work on TOS mobile, but on TradingView, man, it's life changing. Like I feel so comfortable trading off my phone with TradingView. No bullshit. And I never used to be able to, because what you're seeing on my screen is exactly what you'll see on your iPhone.
Give me a rundown. So you suckered me into gladly into all this options trading. So I'm doing all this shit on options, and I'm on top of all my stock stuff. So now, like I've doubled the amount of trades I'm doing every damn day.
It's hard.
And now, one day, about maybe a month ago. I look in our chat room, and Levi, it's like 4 in the morning. And Levi's like, I just made $3,000. Post some P&L, and he trades futures. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Right. So yeah, I'm like, I got a newborn in the house. So I'm like up at weird hours. And so I'm like, what is this? And so now I'm trying to figure it out. Like I couldn't figure it out. He's like, yeah, I'm doing he was doing MNQ at the time. And so then he's like, there's like, I'm getting all these alerts. It's like 525, like bing, bing, 530, bing, bing, 540, bing, bing. He's like scaling out of these things, right? And then with this big rip, and then so the market opens. Dude, I just get to the computer. Like I took a shower, I'm feeling fresh. And Levi's like, yeah, I mean, made like $4,000 today. And I'm like, what the fuck? The market hasn't even opened yet. And I'm like, what are all these pings? And so Levi, I've been trading futures lately. So give me a rundown. How'd you get into this? Why would anybody get into this? What the fuck are they? Why do they even call it a future? Which I don't expect you to answer that because I Google that all the time.
Yeah, so I've traded futures before. I've got a buddy, my buddy Mitch. We go way back from the oil field days. I mean, we kind of both started trading around the same time. And he always was more of the futures trader. And I mean, we're talking, this is back in 2010, 2011. And he's always traded futures, and he does extremely well. And he's always harping on me like, hey, you need to trade futures, man. Like, just imagine if you took these trades on the indexes, on the NASDAQ and the S&P, but didn't experience premium kill. I'm like, all right, whatever. So this was back before, I mean, this was only 3 years ago, 3 years ago. I opened up an account at Ninja Trader. I threw in $15,000, $20,000, and I think within the first month, I blew the entire account. And the thing is I just didn't understand it. I didn't understand that, like, these things, I think NQ moves like every point that it's like $20 a contract or something like that. And so here I am, thinking I'm top dog options trader. I'm going to come in and I'm going to show them how to trade futures. I'm trading like 30, 40, 50 lots on the NQ, man. And like, again, this was stupid. I had no idea what I was doing. And next thing you know, I'm down $5,000, $8,000. And I'm like, fuck, I'm just going to add, And then literally in less than a month, I blew $20,000. So time goes by and I throw in another $15,000, same account, and I lost it. And so I just kind of gave up on it. And still, him and I, we talk literally every day in Discord in a private.
Yes.
We talk every day. And so he finally got me into it. He's using this, Apex, the funded trader. I'm kind of curious, about the legitimacy of everything. And he gets payouts every month, and he does very well. He's a very good trader. So I jump on board with it. And here's the thing, like, anybody who's on the fence about trading futures, I trade futures no different than I trade options or equities. I use my Fibs. It's just it's an asset with a different contract that has no premium, no theta decay. So, and that's really what's appetizing to me right now, especially like with today. I had an experience with QQQ puts and the NASDAQ short.
Levi, walk us through that one, because that was a really good trade. You had the QQQ puts and you had the futures at the same time. For anybody that's like always a little bit weirded out, like which one do I do, or do I do stocks? This will kind of give you a little bit of a rundown, because Levi had a really good trade on the QQQs. I think, his lottos on these were, and he's really good at riding these things. Yeah. But the lottos on these moved pretty good.
Yeah. So we got 65% on the first trade with QQQ on the options. So 65% on this setup here, right? We had the pre-market high, really nice impulse flush here. And this is just the beauty of the fib strategy, guys. I mean, waiting for value, right? That's what I call it, waiting for value. I'm not shorting any of this crap. This tells me that price is weak. We also went green to red, right? We rolled red as we all know what that means, previous day close. And I wait for my opportunity to get short into my fib zone. We took those putts and closed them down here for over 65%. So I took a roll right here on this pop. We enter putts, we roll profits on this putt here because, again, we got another fib zone set up right here coming off this low. And we got over a point on the underline. But look at this consolidation right here, okay? This killed the premium. The highest I ever got was like 15% on those putts. And when you look at the NASDAQ, that was a 30, 40 point short on the NASDAQ. So that's kind of like what's got me more interested in trading options, at least on the indexes more. I'm never going to stop trading options because I still like to trade the high beta names. But for SPY and QQQ, man, I did 2 shorts today on the NASDAQ. I did 2 trades that went over 100 points. Does that happen all the time? Absolutely not. But I find myself trading better.
Nice
Futures with the NASDAQ and the S&P, period.
So give me a rundown now. So you're doing big caps with options, futures for indexes, but also options with indexes.
Yeah.
If you're a new trader, like there's so many new traders out there, right? And I think it gets confusing. Like, do I do Forex? Do I do stocks? Do I do this? Do I do that? Like, where do you start? If you're new, like, what's the go-to? Like, if it's your son, and you're saying, like, I'm going to start right now to make income, like not millions of dollars or any of this bullshit, but just like, hey, for a job, where would you start?
So I think the first thing is capital. I think that's the biggest number one thing right there is I think a lot of people have this conception that they can have small amount of capital and go straight to trading options and turn that small amount of capital into a large amount of capital. And quite frankly, that's probably going to be the opposite thing that happens. Can it be done? Absolutely. But I tell people this all the time. You have to have enough capital to allow yourself to learn from the losing trades, to learn from the mistakes. And if you don't have a proper risk management system, trading options, man, you can get hurt fast. So only put in what you're willing to risk, period. My personal opinion, as of now, somebody who's new to trading, I think you could trade futures with some of these funded account programs like Apex, Top Step, Take Profit Trader. And here's why I say this. Because they have a role-based system in place with drawdown. Meaning like with the 50K accounts at Apex, you can only lose $2,500 and then they shut your account down.
Sure.
So what I think is really cool about this, and there's a lot of people that will disagree, especially when they came out with the new DCA, dollar cost averaging rule. People are mad because they already don't have a rule-based system. And they're upset that they can't counter trend trade and add into a losing trade. I think it's great because I think it's going to make a trader more focused and take better setups and be more picky about what they trade and when they trade it.
Give me a rundown.
For like $35.
Give me a rundown. So everybody asks me, like, is this something safe to trade, not safe to trade? And what I always tell people is like, well, probably not, but who cares? Because, to fund an account, it costs $30. So like when you were doing the futures, you're like, hey, do this. I'm like, hey, let me go through this sign up fucking process and try to connect this Ninja Trader, which is a little bit harder than I thought because I'm an old man. But in the end, it was like $32 or something. So I was like, all right. So even if it doesn't work out, like, does it really matter? It was 33 bucks. I got to use the platform. I got to make trades, and I haven't heard anybody really complain like these people are stealing money or whatever. So in the end, like, it's kind of like the reward to risk, just like in a trade. Hey, we're going to pay 33 bucks. And you might, it works out, then it works out.
Well, and here's the thing. You can use any strategy that they've been taught, whether it's the Fibs strategy or a breakout strategy, momentum strategy, whatever strategy they're using, they can trade that on the ES and the NQs, on the micros. But the thing is you go through an evaluation process. Like on those 50K accounts, you've got to make, I think, 3,000 or 3,500 before you start to go to that live account. And what I really like about this for newer people and experienced traders is it keeps your risk in check. Like, you're learning really good risk management skills if you actually want to take those accounts to the PA level and start getting payouts. Versus you come in new to trading and you don't understand how options move, and next thing you know, you're wondering why you lost all your money, but the stock has only moved a point or so, and it's that premium kill, man.
Nice. That makes sense. So if you're brand new, it's your kid on the line. All right, you're learning a little bit. You're probably doing a little bit of futures now.
And that's only to teach somebody proper risk management.
Sure.
I mean, at a low cost is what I'm saying, Kamal. I mean, you're paying $35 to reset the account after you wiped out a $2,500 drawdown.
I agree.
You need to be successful not hitting a $2,500 drawdown before you even want to think about trading your real money, in my opinion.
Give me a rundown now. So you want to learn this. I mean, in essence, you got to learn the markets and the stocks individually, as a group, whatever, right? You got to learn the whole market as a whole to even learn any style of trading.
Yep.
If you're getting started, like, what do you do? So there's all these books out there, right? So, like, for example, like I've read hundreds of trading books, right? Some of them, I get like one nugget out of each one. There's a couple that, like Mike Bellafore's book, The Playbook. I got a lot of nuggets out of that one. Brian Shannon's book, I got a lot of nuggets out of that one. But I would say the rest of them, and I've read hundreds and hundreds, you get maybe one thing out of them. So you can't really depend just on books to, like, become a trader. If you're brand new, you're trying to get started, like, what do you do? Where do you go? Like, the internet's just full of shit, right? You can't really count on somebody buying like a good class. But so what would you do? Like, where would you get started? You just like stare at charts all day? You get something going? You watch YouTube? Like, where would you start if you had to do this all over?
So if I had to do it all over, you got to think back when we started, and you started before I did, Twitter wasn't even like a big thing. I mean, Twitter was nothing like it is these days. There really wasn't any chat rooms either back then. I mean, everything we did was through like those chat forums online, Gmail chats. I mean, information, in my opinion, was very limited for day traders back then, a decade ago when I started. Right now, YouTube's a fantastic source for information. You know what I mean? But again, if it smells fishy or too good to be true, like, be smart, man. Like, if the guy's telling you, hey, I'm going to take $100 to $100,000, next video. But learn the basics of support and resistance. I mean, right there, that's a huge part of trading, understanding market structure, support, resistance, start throwing in some moving averages, and then, in my opinion, start trading with Fibs. But I've never been big on books.
Sure, me either.
I think screen time is you have to have the screen time. You've got to sit down and put in the time. You're only going to get out what you put in. I mean, so if you're looking for a hot shortcut to go from A to Z, like I'm sorry, you're setting yourself up. You've got to put in the time. You got to. And here I am. I think 2024 marks 13 years for me now.
And you're still a young man. What are you, 36?
I'm 36.
Damn. Yeah, you're still a young man.
So I'm still learning. Like I strive to learn. I mean, I recently came across Mike Bellaforia at SMB Capital, and holy shit, man! Like, I'll put in my headphones and I'll be out there feeding chickens and turkeys and pigs and shit, and I'll have Mike Bellaforia in my ear with my freaking headphones. And for me, it's not like the trading stuff; it's the psychological stuff that I get from him. It's the okay, like. And I'm telling you right now, I think it's made my trading a little bit more on point.
Nice. Now, let me ask you this: when you're talking about like some big mamma jamma trades, right? So I saw a handful of them a couple of weeks ago on this Tesla. Are you using Fibs for all of these? Like, give me a rundown. Like these kind of things, like. So hold on here. Let me share my screen here. Are you using Fibs for all of it? Because some of this shit is pretty cool. So the QQQs, 93%, 74%, 55%.
Yeah. I mean, you can see, you look at my screenshots, they're Fibs. They're 90% of my trades every day are Fib related. I mean, look at my pre-market notes. Everything that I plan out for the day is based off Fib levels.
Guys, so this is like kind of what's cool. Like, so, and Levi's always posting. He posts every single thing that he does every day. And you got to love this. Like, this is the thing. Like, people always expect, like, the big gainers to be on some, like, weird mid-cap, small-cap name. If you notice, most of his stuff is, like, always on, like, the QQQ, the SPY. Like, it's not like he's going in and, like, look at all, these are all QQQ trades. Like, there are days where he's literally just trading these, like, indexes, SPY, QQQ, SPY, QQQ. And when he loses, it's like, all right, he keeps it real manageable and he just gets out. What I've noticed is, like, if he's losing about 20, 30%, like, he's out. And that's, like, his max pain. But when he's coming in hot, like he's coming in real hot on these things. And that's the awesome part about options. When you get the right setup at the right time, the right place, and you got and like what Levi said, there's a huge premium decay. So you got to like nail this thing to the T. So the breakouts don't work as good because you're going to get that decay. He's using these Fibs to like just nail down the entries. And I thought this was like, this was a couple weeks ago, but this was like he was a banger that day. SMCI, Tesla, he was hitting every single one I've seen. And every single one, like, because I'm trading momentum, he's waiting. So I'm messaging him. We're like in the chat room talking like, hey, guys, this thing is fucking tanking. But he's waiting for the pullback, right, into the Fibs. He's like, no. Because it doesn't really matter. It matters like the entry and then where your stop loss is. If you can get a great entry with a tight stop loss, then, dude, you're in the game, right? You're in the perfect spot. And so he's got an awesome system of just timing these things down and often to the penny. Like, one thing I've noticed about most of his trades is like they start working like pretty much right away. And I think that's the key is like finding a system where you can get the entries going pretty damn close to right away, or you get out.
Yep.
Levi, give me an idea. Where do people find you?
You can find. I'm only on Twitter. I don't have any other social media. Just Twitter.
Love that about you. And do you recommend, if somebody makes a bunch of money trading, to become a rancher in West Colorado?
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of tribulations. I mean, our house almost flooded out 2 weeks ago. The ditch, our irrigation ditch, the creek upstream flooded out, washed out the irrigation ditch. Woke up to water in the garage and at my back patio, and blew out a 20-foot geyser underneath my house. So now I'm worried about foundation being compromised. You get stuck in the fence. You get grasshoppers killing your garden. You got coyotes trying to kill your animals. But I mean, it's fun.
That's hot. In
I'm not big on crowds, man. I like to keep to myself. I keep my space small. That's kind of why I live in the middle of nowhere.
I mean, you're a simple man with 12 computers.
Yeah, I got 2, 4, 6. I got 9.
I'm a simple man, but I got 9 computers.
Yeah.
Brother, it's been good. It's been real. It's been fun. Guys, you'll find him on Twitter. He's the Stock Hunter. You will also find him in our Discord. He is, hold on here. He's got also like a free trial to his options room and futures room. This guy, he's a badass, as you can already tell. But the best thing about him is he's got strategies that like you can duplicate, like without fucking having a master's degree, right? A master's degree in trading. And I think that's the best stuff about him. So at least check out his free trial, man. Like he is the real deal. And you'll see in 7 days, like, dude, this guy knows his shit. Because one of the things that I think you'll notice about Levi that took me a second, because I'm always like, go, 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 is like he'll post in the chat room some days, like, guys, there's nothing to do today. We might take 2 trades and they're going to be hot. But we're not doing any more because this market is not going to give us those opportunities. Levi, give me a rundown. Like, do you segment this? Like, how do you determine when, like, there's a shitload of trades? Because I've seen you make fucking 20 trades in the chat room some days, and then some days I've seen you make 2, and they're just bangers with big size, and they're picture perfect. How do you determine that?
Volatility for 1, singular trend direction 2, and you know, you guys all know, like, when the SPY and the QQQ broke out last week, there was hardly next to no pullback. So I kind of felt like I missed a little bit of that entire move, and same thing with the Russell. I mean, look at IWM and look at the RTY on the futures. There's hardly any pullbacks. So with my strategy, it's simple. If my fib doesn't tag, I don't trade and I don't chase, period. So that might mean I trade once a day. If we have very good pullbacks into fib zones, we might trade 5 trades a day. There's some days I don't post a single trade. If my setup's not there and my process isn't there, I don't trade, period. And I'm very disciplined. And I think I instill that into a lot of members. I've been told, like, hey, man, since being here, like, I'm trading way less. And that's the whole point. That's my motto. Like, do less. As Mike Bellaforte says, you need 1 good trade. I like to.
You really do. Now, I'm guilty of it too, man. And you know what? These fucking commissions add up. Guys, when you're trading futures, you're trading options, the commissions add up. When you're just trading to trade, you can spend on a $2,000 account, $500 fucking trading. You know, like you're just banging buttons, right? Like, oh, contract here, contract here, contract here. I mean, before you know it, it adds up. So, you know, what Levi's saying is like having these picture perfect spots in the market where you're willing to press it or willing not to press it. It not only just saves you heartache from losses, but then you're going to save on commissions. You're going to save on mental capital. You know, There's nothing more tiring than just banging out trades when the market has no opportunity. Levi, my man, thank you. This has been real. It's been fun. And it's been awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hey, real quick, just look at this NQ after hours. I'm sitting here missing money because I'm hanging out with you guys. Look at that Fibs short right there.
Hold on here. Let me get your screen up here. Oh,
I missed it. But I mean, again, that's the beauty of Fibs, man. You don't trade any of this crap right here. You don't trade nothing here. It's not a coincidence that the price wicked and rejected. I mean, that's a what, 18-point short right there. So, anywho, I just think that's funny.
Yeah. Guys, for those of you guys that know, like if you get 18, 20, 30, 40, 50 points on the NQ or MNQ, you're making a little couple butters. You're making a little money. The MNQ is 1/10 of the NQ. So if you have a small account, you can trade MNQ, and that's 1/10 of the actual NASDAQ, which I actually like to do. The commissions just go crazy, so I've stopped doing it. But like, it's great to just the learning process to time your entries.
So like what I'll do is I'll trade the big boy minis, but once I start having like a good day and I'm on a roll, I slow my roll and I'll start trading the micros just to keep myself safe, man. Like I'm still able to trade, but I know if I get a 30-point, 60-point ripper on the NASDAQ, I'm not going to wipe out. I'm on the micros, you know?
Nice. It's hard, but you just got to do it. Guys, you'll find Levi in the Bulls on Wall Street chat room. He's got a free trial to all his stuff. I'm going to have him on again. This guy, he's the real deal because he's going to take some of the thinking out of what you got to do. He teaches, of course. He's live every day. Dude, you see in his alerts, like he's fucking, sorry for the swearing. Dude, he's just a badass man. He really is. He's a bad man. And he's live. Like what he does, which I think is cool, is in the pre-market, he'll always tell everybody, like, look, I got no good reads on this. This is what I'm looking at, so on and so forth. But he maps it out every morning in the pre-market, like what he's willing to do, right? Like these are the things I'm waiting for. And if they don't hit, I'm not doing it, right? And every day you get a pre-market plan with all the game plan laid out. And then, he's, of course, alerting all these in real time. And, a couple days a week he'll go on and, he'll be on video too, teaching everybody while he's doing it, which is pretty damn cool. So, guys, if you've been struggling, this is something you should look into because it's going to take a little bit of that struggle bus out of it. Levi, I love you, brother, man. Congrats on all your success. Take care of that family, man. I'll see you tomorrow. I might see you at 3 a.m. because you never know. There might be some juicy stuff happening.
Hey, we got range, man. We got volatility.
So. All right. Peace, brother.
All right. Thanks, everybody.